everybody. Happy Saturday. I hope you all are well. And happy April. It's officially spring. Sorry, just a sec. I'm filming both on my computer and here on Instagram right now, and my computer is not very happy with what's going on. But yay, I think hopefully just figured it out. Hi, Emma B. Wrights. Nice to see you today. How's your Saturday going so far? I was woken up at 6:30, woke up naturally, by a really obnoxious bird. But birds are nature, so I'm counting that as waking up naturally. Yeah, welcome to Story Time with Beth. What happens is once a month we do a story time where we get together and I read aloud from The Weaver's Blessing, my first fairy tale, and we read a couple chapters together, and then at the end I'll have some announcements. This month I have some especially exciting announcements, so I'm really looking forward to sharing that with you all. As we're getting started, a little review of what has happened so far in The Weaver's Blessing. The main character is Princess Elaine, who has been living in secret and hiding for about a decade. Her kingdom, Klacken, was attacked and conquered by an evil king, Eric of Cangrath, and now that she's gotten older, the king has realized that she survived, and Elaine is now having to run for her life. She met up with a slave hunter who she convinced to not capture her and not put her in captivity, but instead to let her, or to help her get to their neighboring kingdom of Ferngold and help her save their kingdom from the evil king. That slave hunter's name is Brandon, and where we left off, Brandon had just been very, very badly injured by some other slave hunters who are trying to capture Elaine, and now they're in the household of a stranger, and they've realized that Brandon's probably not going to make it. And Elaine just said goodbye to him at the end of chapter 9. So we're starting off today with chapter 10. When laughter, rather than sobbing, came from the other room, Madge and her husband looked at each other and went to investigate. The boy should have passed away by now. Had the girl gone mad with grief? The scene that greeted them made Madge think she herself had gone mad. It was utterly impossible. The boy was standing up, and the girl was hugging him. Radiant smiles covered both their faces. It's impossible, she gasped. Her husband stared at them too, slack-jawed. The boy looked at them then. No, he corrected her in his deeper-than-his-age voice. It's a miracle. Madge started to get angry. This had to be a trick. They were very clever con artists, to be sure. She had been certain his injury was real. But a miracle? No. She crossed her arms. There hasn't been a miracle since the Weavers died. With our black-hearted king in power, it's impossible. The youngsters looked at each other. Maybe not so impossible, the girl said. Not all of the Weavers died. The princess was hidden by the king's valet and raised in secret these past years. She came of age a week ago. The princess survived? Then there was hope for them all. So? Her husband asked. So, the boy said. Since then, things have been changing. Have you not noticed it? The earth is waking back up. Do you not feel hope like you've not felt these 12 years? Normally we'd still have a foot of snow, her husband said. It melted a couple days ago. I did see a flower yesterday, Madge remembered. But still, that's hardly enough of the magician's blessing returned to save a dying man's life, except in the presence of she who bears the blessing herself. You are right, the girl said, stepping forward, her eyes shining. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Elaine Weaver, princess and rightful ruler of Klacken. It was too good to be true. Prove it, Madge insisted. She took off her cloak and pulled the collar of her dress down over her left shoulder. On her skin was a tiny heart. Madge dropped to her knees. "My liege," she whispered in awe. Before there was proper time to bask in her presence and existence, a knock sounded at the door. The boy pulled the girl behind him and drew his weapons. "The king is after her," he explained. "We won't let them get you, your majesty," Madge's husband promised. He picked up his bow again, and she grabbed her pot, the closest thing she could find to use as a weapon. "No accommodations," her husband yelled at the front door. The knocking continued. "Please let me in," a young man called. "We opened the door in the dark for no one," he replied. But the princess moved them aside with a touch. She held the door handle with one hand, held her other hand up for them to wait, and their eyes met. Then she opened the door wide and exclaimed, "Jeremy!" Chapter 11. "Ivan, it's getting worse," King Eric said, vastly displeased. He had spent the whole day burning piles of weeds and wild flowers, but had scarcely made a dent. It did not help his foul mood that, as soon as one plant was plucked from the soil, 3 more replaced it. "Her magic grows, and ours wanes," the magician sighed. "My strength is almost spent." "She has some help," Eric hypothesized, pacing feverishly. "Every time she encounters some of my slave hunters, they end up dead." He paused his pacing. "Can you give them any help?" Ivan the magician slowly walked over to a table piled with books and flipped through them, squinting to see. He found what he was looking for and looked grim. "There is one option left, but it will require great sacrifice. We can withdraw our struggling, cursed claim from the whole land and focus it only on the region in which the princess is." "What will happen then?" Eric inquired. "Most of the land will revert to the princess's dominion. Its people will no longer be under your control. The blackness of your heart will be concentrated on the princess, and it may be enough to undo her. If she dies, you will regain control without opposition." "If she does not die?" the king asked, though he already knew the answer. "You will lose everything," Ivan answered. Eric walked over to a window. For a long time he stared out at his kingdom, the mighty Kraken which he had tamed. What was he willing to do to retain power there? A timid knock interrupted his thoughts. Eric strode across the room and opened the door on his chief of espionage. "Report," he barked at the pale man. "Your Majesty," he said, the fear in his voice obvious, "the ravens my lord Ivan the magician enchanted to spies have returned. The princess is alive and traveling in the direction of Ferngold with the slave hunter. They just defeated a group of 6 hunters that attacked them. The princess is strong, they say." "Get out." Eric pointed at the door. The spy bowed repeatedly and backed out of the room. "She must not get to Ferngold," he fretted, pacing once more. "How dare one of my wretched hunters betray me and help her?" Abruptly he stopped and faced Ivan. "Do it." "Eric, are you absolutely certain? Once this is done, it cannot be undone," the magician cautioned. "There are so many variables that could go wrong." "Do it," Eric repeated. "Focus all our power on that cursed girl. Let us crush her once and for all." Chapter 12. The next day they set out again. Madge and her husband wanted to accompany them, but they decided a small group would gain less attention and move quicker. The hunter led the way, and Jeremy brought up the rear, with Elaine safely between them. He did not trust the hunter. Brendan? Brady? There was something suspicious about him. How did he happen to find Elaine and gain her trust? He looked at her too much, touched her arm too much. helped her over obstacles too much, and his voice, Jeremy frowned in displeasure. His voice was altogether too deep and soothing. Surely he was up to no good. Jeremy pulled Elaine aside. "Lainey, I don't trust him," he whispered, with a significant look at the hunter's back. "Let's part ways with him." Elaine gave him a disappointed look and touched his shoulder. "Jer, trust me. We've been through so much together these past days. He's saved my life more times than I can count. Did you know that?" He did not. "He almost sacrificed himself for me, and would have too, but for a miracle." Her voice grew soft, and she looked at the hunter, who looked back just then. "Brandon is good," she assured him. "He is on our side." She moved forward to join the hunter, who had stopped when he saw they were not moving. The hunter smiled and gave her a look Jeremy knew well. It was the look Jeremy always gave Elaine. Jealousy, that was what he was feeling. Since they were children he had loved her, and he always assumed she would grow to love him when they were older. Now, this reformed slave hunter could ruin everything. "It's getting darker," Brent said in his stupid, deep voice. "I don't like this." It was getting darker. Even worse, the plants were withering, and the sweet smell in the air was turning to rot. "I don't understand," Elaine frowned. Jeremy frowned when she tucked her hand between Brody's side and arm and looked up at him for answers. "The king's power is supposed to be fading." They had no explanation, but they had to move. The ground started bubbling and vomiting nauseating fumes. Choking, the trio ran forwards, looking for solid ground. They ran right into a thicket of thorn bushes. The thorns tore at their skin and stung the exposed flesh underneath. From the roses, which had fallen black to the ground, crawled thousands of maggots. Elaine screamed and threw up. Brandy used his sword to cut a path for them. They tumbled out of the thicket straight into an ogre's leg. All three of them were so busy fighting for their lives, they did not notice the creeping mist growing thicker at their feet. By the time Bran put an arrow through the ogre's eyes and the young men turned to look for Elaine, it was too late. They were just in time to see her take a deep breath of the mist. And that is the end of chapter 12 and the end of our reading for today. Hi, Evie Dawson. Hi, Ashley Books. It's good to see you guys today. I hope you enjoyed these new chapters from The Weaver's Blessing. Go ahead and share with me your thoughts on what you think will happen next now that Elaine has breathed the poison mist. What is going to happen? For our announcements for this month, I'm really excited to share with you guys something I've been working on for a while now. You may know, especially if you've seen my Instagram, that I love making art in addition to writing. And I've been especially working on learning more about digital art and learning more about watercolors. As I've been doing that, I've really had fun making things related to my stories. So it is my joy today to announce that I am officially launching a merch shop. I'm launching it through a website called TeePublic. I'll put the link in my bio on Instagram and down below on the YouTube video. But I have lots of fun things to share with you there and more that's going to be coming. So I have a couple things to share with you today. First is just a t-shirt that I made. It says, "Wouldn't it be marvelous to pass into the sky and meet the stars?" This is a quote from my short story, The Lake of Living Waters, and I really like it. And so it's on t-shirts, it's on some other things like mugs. Here's a really cool travel mug for you to see. It's shiny, it's very sturdy, keeps drinks warm, even has a fun lid that you can clip on and off. It spins to close so it won't pop off and spill your drink all over you, which is very nice. For Child of the Cates, there's maps in the beginning of the book, and I had a really good time drawing one and watercoloring it, so that is now in some things like this lovely little notebook. You can get it hardbound or spiral bound with blank or lined pages. I got blank so I can practice drawing more in it, but it's lovely, a very nice size, easy to travel with. In the Firstborn's Legacy series, there is also one of the things that carries on between many of the stories is some magic swords. So one of them, Luemi Caroth, is the sword of Rebellion, the main character in Child of the Keats, and I did a painting of that. You can get it on things like this tote bag. So you have the sword, and it says Light in the Darkness and Slayer of Falsehood, because that is what the name Luemi Caroth means. So you can fight against evil as you go grocery shopping. There's lots of different options. There's also some stickers, and there's also a mug design from The Weaver's Blessing, some fun typography that says purity and fortitude, which is part of the magician's blessing on the Weaver family. So I thought, hey, when I drink tea, I'd like it also to be pure and strong, so that seemed like a fun thing to do. Yeah, so it's there. I'll put the links in, and I'm very excited to share that with you all today. And then just to go back through people's comments, E.B. Dawson Writing said, now I want to read the whole story again. Well, thank you. I've really been enjoying reading back through it with you guys. Hi, Cassie Asosha. Nice to see you. And hi, Melanie Clark, author. It's great for you to join us. So we are just wrapping up today. This will be on Instagram for the next 24 hours, and then I'm also going to upload it to YouTube if you want to watch it there for however long YouTube exists. So have a lovely rest of your Saturday, and thank you for hanging out with me today. Bye!